What's up, guys? It is Ben with Ben's Election Predictions, and we just finished the 2024 presidential debate between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. And I don't know if y'all were viewing, but a lot of fireworks happened, and I'm going to cover it all in this live stream. For about 90 minutes, it was Donald Trump and Joe Biden going back and forth. The mics were turned off. They were, going head to head, and I do think this was better than the 2020 debates and that they weren't speaking over each other as much, and you could actually hear what they were saying. But the the main point that I want to get across is that I don't think this is going to change much in the debate. The campaigns that he was going to fall flat on his face and that he might be replaced, and that didn't happen. I think in the first 15 minutes, it definitely was an open question because, yeah, Joe Biden wasn't speaking as fluently, as he wasn't debating as well as he had in previous debates, including the 2020 presidential debates versus Donald Trump. However, do I think this changes that much? No. I think the people that were Trump supporters before this debate are going to stay. There's the people that were Biden supporters before this debate are gonna stick with Biden, and I frankly think that the people that were in the middle, I think a lot of them didn't even tune into the debate. I was at work today asking folks if they were gonna watch the debate. Many people didn't even know it was going on. This is obviously the earliest debate that has happened in the, cycle, and the people that were on the fence, I think they were looking out for some things. They were looking for some substantial policy answers to, the policy questions that they are concerned about. Did those really get answered? I don't think they really did. And frankly, I think some people probably tuned out after the first 30 minutes, and I really do think that this was kind of the tale of 2 debates. At first, I think in the first 30 minutes that I think that Donald Trump did better, it's not that he was necessarily the better debater, but I just think Joe Biden started out this debate very, and then, as the debate went on, once both the candidates kinda got their footing, I do think it was a wash. I think there were certain candidates that or certain questions that Joe Biden definitely answered, better, and I do think there were some questions that Donald Trump definitely fumbled on. And one question that I think will be clipped the most, after the debate, I think, you know, um, the biggest impact that the debate has is the social media clips afterwards and the news coverage and just the narrative around the debate. I do think that, um, Trump fumbled the question on whether he was gonna accept the 2024 presidential results. I think this could have been a way up for Trump. Trump just says yes because I think he threw off a lot of voters when he said the 2020 presidential election was rigged. And because the majority of Americans, 60 plus percent, 65%, think it was a free and fair election. I think that's one moment where Joe Biden got the better of him. I think on the policy questions, it was pretty even. That there was not a lot of policy being discussed during this debate. It was a lot of kind of personal insults either way. And I thought this was epitomized, during kind of the golf debate, which I think will, get most of the viral clicks going, after the election. What is Biden's handicap? Trump saying that he's, mentally and physically fit because he won the golf tournaments on his own golf course, which I think, people across the political spectrum can acknowledge is a little bit ridiculous. But, those are my initial thoughts on the debate, and I took the notes during the debate and can definitely kinda get more detailed into the, answers here, but I will, go to the live chat really quickly to kind of answer the questions that are top on your mind. So if you have any questions, happy to, kind of go to the questions. So, one of the first person says, "I was a Biden voter, I can't possibly like this man now, he's not good for office." So, I do think this is a thing that's going to come up. I think anyone on both sides of the political aisle looking at Joe Biden objectively, he was he was more fit, he had more energy, he was a more astute debater, I think, in 2020. He didn't fall on his face in this debate, I don't think. I don't think there's gonna be much talk among the Democrats about replacing him. I think in the first 15 minutes, it was kind of an open question on if Biden kind of continues stumbling over answers, if his call keeps on happening, that there might be some talk going into the Democratic National Convention on, whether we want Gavin Newsom or Richard Whitmer or, like, someone else to replace him. I think that Biden's debate performance, although it was not his best, it might have been his worst, kind of quieted those concerns. So I understand that if you were a Biden voter in 2020, you might not be as impressed with his performance before, and that might impact your vote. However, I frankly don't think there are a lot of swing voters it's going to have a big impact on. So, let's see. Logan Hill says, "Let's wait until the next debate. It seems like Biden could have been sick. He was coughing a lot." So, I think this is something that's going to be talked about a lot. Biden was at Camp David for a full week, and he was, people were speculating that he was on drugs. He was doped up. But, clearly, he still stumbled on a lot. He didn't fall flat on his face, and I do wanna emphasize that because I think that is important on the for kind of the narrative coming out of the election. But, yeah, it will be interested to see if the Biden campaign says that he has a cold or, like, whether, this is gonna be the, new normal for Biden in the entire campaign season where he just isn't at his, full caliber like we've seen him in his previous political life. Let's see. So Isabel says, "In your opinion, who won the debate?" I frankly think it's gonna be a wash. If I had to pick a winner, I would say maybe Trump came out a little bit ahead, and if we look at the Biden or at the betting markets right now, it does appear that Trump's odds have jumped and Biden's odds have gone down a little bit. And I do think these are gonna normalize in the days coming ahead, and this is, typically what happens, you know, the spur of the moment reactions are a little overstated, and then once, polling comes back and shows that nothing has actually changed, nothing's gonna happen. I don't think this debate's gonna have a major impact. That's gonna happen. So Cole says, "Love the stash bench." Thank you very much, Cole. I'm just, trying it out for the 4th of July holiday. Let's see. Calder Smith says, aside from the standard Washington economic and social political response, what do undecided voters really want to hear, and who is currently better answering those questions? So, this is probably the best question that I've gotten all night, and this is truly what I think the American people want to hear from their president is, who is going to be better on the issues? Who do I trust more to be better on the issues? And frankly, this is a very cliche thing to say, but I think the biggest loser of the debate might have been the American people. Not a lot of new questions were answered. There aren't gonna be some major policy-related headlines coming out of this debate. It's all gonna be on, "Oh, who performed better, who was able to get better answers," but nothing really new came out of this debate I was expecting before. And in terms of the undecided voters, so there's been a big conversation on, like, how many voters are truly undecided in this election, and I actually think it's not going to come down to as much the undecided voters, it's going to come out to turnout. So I think a lot of people watching this debate are like, both these candidates are very old, they didn't answer my questions, they aren't really truly speaking to me. I wish we would have had other people, whether it was Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis, Gavin Newsom, Bernie Sanders. These are probably a lot of conversations happening on Twitter and households across the country, but, these are the 2 options we have. And so I do think there's a very small percentage of voters that are truly undecided, and I still think, this debate probably didn't have a ton of impact. I think if you were a Biden 2020 voter and you're really concerned about Biden's age, you might have had some concerns in the first 15 minutes, but I don't think it's gonna have major implications going forward. I think Biden's supporters would be like, "Okay, Biden saw signs of life. He should have it's fine." For the people that are truly undecided, I do think that Trump probably was able to kind of give more articulate answers and, showed more signs of life than Biden did, but those same concerns that people had about Trump before this debate, and, for his entire presidency, whether, you can trust him, whether concerns over January 6th or democracy, I don't think he was able to answer those questions effectively to kind of neutralize those concerns of him. If you were coming in as kind of an undecided voter leaning towards Trump, I do think Trump kind of s is going to solidify his base, and then people who might lean Republican, who are maybe, leaning towards Trump but still weren't sure. I don't think he lost any voters tonight. So I do kind of agree with the betting markets in terms of the direction that they were going. I think I would only really give Trump maybe like 1 to 5 percentage point advantage in the betting markets, and what we've seen so far, is that, Trump's odds have risen about 10 to 15 percentage points, which I think is a complete overreaction. It probably was due to Biden's first kind of 15 minutes, he was stumbling a lot, so, yeah, I think this was interesting. And then, let me see, reading the charts, your thoughts on Trump declining to accept the 2024 election results. So I frankly think this was Trump's worst moment in the debate. There were many moments where I thought, Biden and Trump had a complete layup, and because they've been prepping for so much, I thought that they would answer these questions better. But, I really think Trump had the opportunity to kind of neutralize this concern that he's a dictator or doesn't care about democracy by saying, like, "Listen, I think that the 2024 election is going to be, fair and valid and not be flawed," but he kind of mentioned that at first. He says, If I think if it's a fair and honest election, that I'm absolutely going to accept it." And I think that is a little bit of a cop out. And then he mentioned the fraud happening in 2020, which I think was a mistake. The real question I think is what's going to be the post-debate um, narrative. And when all of y'all go to work tomorrow, or go back to school, or talk to your family tomorrow morning, what is going to be the narrative? I think for a lot of people that were just watching the debate for pure entertainment purposes, it's gonna be like, both people are really old, or Biden's so old, I can't believe he's president. And some of it may be about. I saw on Twitter that someone was like, Scotty Scheffler should be president because he would be the best golfer. But I think the moments that are gonna come out of the debate are gonna be that one answer by Trump, and when he said that he wasn't going to necessarily accept the 2024 election results. I think it's gonna be kind of plastered across the media, and he didn't necessarily say that, but I think it's going to be fun to kind of get that narrative. Some issues that I don't think are gonna be talked about that, people maybe thought were really important are abortion, immigration, inflation. I do not think those are gonna be the main takeaways from the debate. And clearly, those are the issues that voters in poll after poll have demonstrated they care about the most. And so you could argue that, the fact that, abortion isn't gonna be the main issue, that might help Trump because that's kind of helps the Democrats, or the fact that, the main issue isn't gonna be about immigration or inflation might help Biden because those issues help Trump. But, I really think overall, and this obviously isn't going to be, the most exciting post-debate election coverage because there's not a lot of hot takes. I What happened is kind of what I expected to happen, but, Yeah, so let's go on to the, chats, and if anyone wants to, give a super chat, that would be awesome. I'll definitely talk about your question, but let's go back to the, questions right here. So some people are saying Trump is finished, abortion is beloved. I understand, Biden's supporters are really gonna believe that. I don't think it's gonna be the end of, Trump, but, thank you, Grant, for your, commentary there. Let's see, who has more to prove, Trump to gain voters or Biden to prevent losing voters, and how do each achieve. This is a very, very good question, and I do wanna give a big shout out to, Calder. He's coming with 2, fantastic, more policy and, very, astute, intelligent questions here. So, I do think the biggest impact that's going to happen is, can Biden prevent losing voters? I think, people say Trump has a very low or a very high floor, but a very low ceiling. So he's probably gonna get anywhere between 43 and 48 percentage of the vote in terms of the popular vote. And Biden is gonna be more variable. So he won 51, 52% of the vote in 2020, but we've seen in poll after poll that Biden has not been able to get the same support that he got in 2020. The Biden 2020 coalition is falling apart, and if you look at it among, Biden Black voters, Biden Hispanic voters, and kind of the maybe, not as politically engaged voters, um, this part of the base, Biden is losing. And also, you would say the very progressive left, when it comes to issues of Gaza or other issues, Biden, people that voted for Biden in 2020 are saying, "I don't know if I'm going to vote for Biden in 2024." These voters are very unlikely to vote for Trump. I do think there are gonna be some Black and Hispanic voters who voted for Biden in 2020 that are going to vote for Biden in 2024. They're just based on issues on the border and in inflation, but I really think, going back to Carter's question, who has more to prove, it's Biden. Can Biden restore his 2020 coalition and get back those voters that voted for him in 2020, maybe begrudgingly, but, um, these voters in polls have indicated that they're not strong Biden voters. Can they come home to Biden in 2020 and all the swing states that matter? And, while I'm waiting for some more questions to come in, I wanna focus very closely on the 2024 presidential election. It's going to come down to a handful of states, I think 5 or 6, and I just wanna briefly cover those right now. So where the debate was held, in Atlanta, Georgia. Georgia was a state that, no one really thought was gonna go for Biden. It's been a Republican stronghold for a while. In 2024, what is it looking like? I think that Trump is going to win Georgia. I don't think it's going to be as competitive as some of the other states. I think Trump's probably gonna win Georgia by around 2 or 3 percentage points. But does that end the presidential election? Is Trump going to win in a landslide? No. Trump could absolutely win Georgia. He won North Carolina. He won in 2020. He could even win states like Nevada and Arizona, which I think are gonna be closer to Georgia. It's going to come down to Rust Belt states that decided the 2016 election, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. And, I think right now it's really unclear who's gonna win this state. Trump is up, it's still within the margin, but states like Wisconsin, Michigan are just nice. Obviously, in all these states, there's a massive polling error to Trump's advantage. Biden still was able to hold on. If you have that same polling error in 2024, Trump is going to land it or is going to win an almost a landslide. I don't think you're gonna see the same polling error. You know, getting back to the debate, what impact is this debate going to have of the people of Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin that, are on the fence? People that have, might not have been as politically engaged with the election, wanted to tune into the first debate. What impact is this going to have? I think on the margins, Trump might improve slightly from this debate. And it's not because Trump was this master debater or, someone that was, like, really, uh, someone who was, really on top of all the issues or, really, able to, like, uh, answer everyone's questions and, address all the concerns that people had about Trump. It was because Biden was not as sharp as he was in 20 2016 or in 2012 or in 2008 when he was in those biased presidential, debates. So, let's see, going back to the trap, so Trump said Biden has become like a Palestinian. What did he mean by that? What point was he trying to prove? So, I did think this was a weird moment because I one issue that I actually want to cover, before this, which kind of is related to this question is, I think a lot of people are gonna say after this debate that Trump was not answering these questions directly. The moderator would ask you a question, you would see it on the chyron on the bottom of the screen if you're watching it on CNN, whether it was around childcare, whether it was, about inflation or healthcare or foreign policy, and Trump just did not answer these questions. He kept on going back to what Biden said, and he also did this about accepting the 2024 election results, and I do think this was a big mistake by by Trump, 'cause, you know, I think in many ways, Trump is able to kind of more astutely answer these questions, how Biden kind of stumbles over his answers, isn't able as clearly to articulate his answers. I think this was a very missed opportunity, and I think on the issues of foreign policy, it wasn't very clear where Trump stood. I mean, Trump obviously kept on trying to pivot to this notion that, we shouldn't be paying so much for these foreign wars, that if you were president, none of this would have ever happened. I think that argument might hold a little bit of water when it comes to Russia and Ukraine. It doesn't hold as much water, I think, when it comes to Israel, Gaza, except if you buy this narrative around the Iran, nuclear deal and stuff. And, to go back to the question, I think what Trump was trying to say, like, what we've seen a lot over the media in the past 2 months is a lot of these protests on college campuses, and, Biden has been pretty strident, I think, in his support for Israel, and I actually think in the debate he kind of reiterated that, which might anger, a lot of the a lot of the pr a lot of the progressive left. But I think what Trump was trying to do in that moment was trying to lump him with the college protests and some of the more radical, components of the protest, but I frankly think that's not going to be as effective as he thinks it is because, Biden has remained pretty firm in his support for Israel. He's tried to broker this ceasefire, which hasn't gone, um, accordingly to, what Biden would want, and it's really unclear kind of where Trump is coming down in this, debate between Israel and Gaza, but, anyway, I think I'll probably wrap up this live stream in the, next 5 minutes or so, but any last questions come in, I would love to answer. I mean, at a high level to reiterate, I don't think this debate is going to have a massive impact on the margins. I do think it is going to help Trump, and in the betting odds, we have seen this even more dramatically than, I think that I would characterize it. Very shortly, we're probably going to see, some snap polls from the media organizations like CNN and, just from some other polling agencies being like, "Who won the debate?" And just at a high level, who do I think won the debate? I don't think anyone really won the debate, and like I kinda said before, I think that, um I don't think there's a winner of the debate, and I think it's the American people who are the biggest loser of the debate. I think, one headline is going to be is that, both candidates lied a lot, and I was actually kind of keeping a tracker of, both candidates and how they were lying, and I actually haven't really gotten into this because I don't think it's as relevant. I don't think as many people care about that. More people kind of care about, what was, the trading scores or on the golf debate, who has the larger handicap, who's more physically fit, but just kinda quickly go over those, Biden, when he was saying that Trump, like, has supported Hitler or, like, some of his ideas, I think that's false. Biden saying that there was 50% unemployment, when Trump left office, that was false. The whole Charlottesville thing, and I get into this in more detail, but that Biden has characterized that Trump's not gonna destroy Social Security, and then also, you know, um, yeah, and so moving on, in terms of what Trump said that I think was a lie, I just think overall that Trump is just not as trustworthy of a figure as Biden is. It's just his perception. So when he says that, "We had the best economy," or "We had the best everything," or "Biden is the worst president," or, like, "the worst on this policy," or "E everyone agrees with me," I think those points are obviously an over exaggeration, and he's kind of just talking in generalizations, or even when he's talking about the people coming across the border. So I think those, probably landed flat, and I just think overall, the points where, Trump would have had an advantage over on inflation, on the border, and on foreign relations, I don't think he was as effective as he could have been, in kind of winning on those issues. So I think overall, um, that that, this is not going to move the needle that much, and, just kind of going back to my last thing, I think, uh, someone says, "I think you should shut down your channel. Camera quality is bad, sound quality is bad, production quality is bad, your views are very biased." Thank you for your honest feedback there. I am trying to improve as best as I can the, quality here. I'm not a super tech genius, but thank you to all that have, tuned in. I think this debate was very interesting, and, glad for everyone who was able to watch the debate, and thank you guys for everything, and I'll, see you later.